Steel Brawl. The Advanced Steel Longsword Competition rules. The target area includes the whole body except for 4 target zones, which are forbidden: the back of the head, the spine, the groin, the ankle and foot. The materiality of the hit. The hit must land on the valid target and with sufficient quality, within the time allotted by the director. Hits may be scored with the point, thrust, or the blade, cut or draw cut, including half-sword strikes. The quality of a hit is determined by the following. Edge geometry. Only cuts with the edge may score. Hits with the flat of the blade do not have quality and will not score. Blade placement. Only cuts scoring with the upper half, foible, of the blade will be considered of quality. Hits with the forte do not have quality and will not score. Rotation. Only cuts with significant rotation may score. A simple touching of the target area may not have quality and will not score. The draw cut is correctly executed when at least half the sword edge is continuously pulled across the target. Half sword and pommel strikes must be executed with control. If half sword or pommel strike are performed without control, the red card will be issued and the fighter will lose 1 point. Gripping of the blade. Taking control of the opponent's blade by grabbing it is allowed. However, if it is done during a cut action from the opponent, the fight will be stopped, and opponents get the point for a successful cut to the hand. The opponent also gets the point by pulling the blade from the grip as cutting the hand. Illegal strikes. While historically accurate, for the safety of competition, the following techniques are prohibited and will be punished under the rules. Any hit with the crossguard, or forte of the weapon. Any cut or thrust with excessive force. Any cut that originates from behind the fighter or, so-called giant windmill strikes. Any strike to a prohibited target zone. A pommel strike, performed while holding or otherwise restricting the movement of the opponent's head. Additional illegal maneuvers. Wrestling, tripping, bars, and locks are not permitted. Strikes with the offhand as hits with a fist or elbow are not permitted. Strikes with the feet as kicks with a foot or ankle are not permitted. Strikes on a fallen opponent are not permitted. Takedowns or throws are not permitted. Disarming an opponent. If a fighter is disarmed or drops their weapon during the combat, their opponent will be awarded a point. Exceptions. If the weapon was let go during a thrust toward the incoming opponent, to avoid a hard strike. If the weapon was dropped to grab the opponent's weapon. If the weapon was dropped due to excessive power use of the opponent in push out of boundary action. Grappling. While wrestling, tripping, throws, unarmed strikes, and joint or body locks are not permitted, fighters may engage in grappling. Grappling is defined as hand play to control the opponent's weapon, ability to control their weapon, maneuver to gain a favorable position, and attempt to disarm the opponent. If, during the grapple, the fighting becomes confused or a stalemate is achieved, the director will stop the combat. Afterblows. Fighters must always protect themselves, even after performing a valid strike. Hits that occur immediately after a valid strike or so-called afterblow are legal and will be counted. Afterblows that occur over 1 second after the valid hit, aka reaction strike, will be considered late, and not counted. The director decides if the afterblow is within the time. Double hits. If both fighters make a valid hit at the same time, no points will be awarded. Running onto the sword. If a fighter is in a position with the point of the sword directed at the opponent's chest or head, the fighter is said to be in the inline position. If a fighter is in an inline position, the opponent must try to remove the threatening line. If they run onto the sword point without doing so, it potentially creates a safety hazard, and may be penalized under the rules. A yellow card will be issued if the president determines that the action was unsafe. However, if a fighter is in the inline position and thrusts forward or deceives the opponent's attack, despite being hit, the running onto the sword penalty will not apply. Strikes with a sword held in one hand. For the advanced longsword competition, so-called one-handed strikes are legal and score 1 point. However, any following in-tempo counter hit to the head, or the body of the attacker, will nullify the touch, and the defender will score 2 points accordingly. Hand touches. Non-quality hits. Hand touches are qualified as secondary hits, and if the defender made a touch following the attacker after the hand hit, the defender will get a point, not the attacker. Hand touches made in so-called searching mode with no significant angle will not be called and the fight will continue. Likewise, the touches made in searching with wild motion are considered out of control and will not be scored, but the fight will be stopped, and the fighter will be warned for the unsafe fighting. Hand touches made on retreat or out of balance are not counted and the fight will continue. Quality hits. If the defender covers a target with the hand during the attack, the attacker will be given a point for a hand touch. Hand touches may be scored during thrusts if the hit is performed clearly and with the proper angle. Croup-how type hand touches are considered of quality if properly performed.